Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. On today's adventure, we're headed for our annual bow camp. But as you might have already guessed, this year's camp is going to be considerably different. You see, I think it was just too many times hearing too many tales of too much fun and excitement at bow camp. It finally got to the ladies, so Miss T and Kim Dewey decided this year they were going to try some of that archery hunting. Now, I have to tell you, I know firsthand that hunting with a crossbow from a ground blind is no easier than a conventional bow from a tree stand. But I also know that this year's camp, mostly because of the ladies, looks a whole lot better, and to tell the truth, it smells a little better too. Hey, I'm your host, Kyle Randall. This is my Wilderness Journal, and we're headed back to bow camp right now. So Kim Dewey is hunting. Miss T's the guide.
Yes.
Yes. The girls appeared ready, and I knew we had this blind in the right spot. All we really needed was... a nice young 8-point was working his way up through the trail, up under the oaks, eating some acorns. This buck didn't seem too nervous, but he was constantly staring out through the trees out toward the food plot.
There's a deer out in the field over there.
He's sure studying on him.
Yeah.
He was watching some other deer that were already out in the field. It was only 5:30 in the afternoon, and already deer were starting to move. The buck worked his way in on our trail right to where I'd put down some apple scent. The first hour, the first day in stand, it was decision time for Kim Dewey. We'd agreed we'd wait for a mature deer, a 3-year-old or older, and this was just a 2-year-old, but in the end, there's a deer right there, a pretty nice deer, and when Kim whispered back at me, "Too small," well, I guess I deserved that one. He's sure studying something. With our decision made, we just watched as this buck worked his way across the old logging road and started heading out toward the food plot. Only he kept pulling up short and staring out in the field. And then he did something that even surprised me a little.
Oh my God, he's laying down.
Did that deer just bed down?
Yes.
Right there, not 18 yards in front of us, this buck bedded down right in front of our blind. Yeah, I guess he liked the shade or something, but I did know this wasn't a good thing. Having a buck right in front of you like that is really neat, but it also creates every little sound, any chance the wind swirls, he could pick it up. He's so close you don't dare move, and if you get caught and he goes out of there stomping and blowing, well, the whole evening could be over before it really got started. It's neat to have a deer up close to you, but believe me, it's like a ticking time bomb in an archery hunt. Fortunately, when our bomb did go off, it didn't seem to blow up Kim's hunt. I think y'all got smelled.
I didn't, you did.
No, it was me. I figured darn camera guys are always spooking the deer.
You said you took a shower.
He just got the wind is whipping and swirling, and he got just a little bit.
He's right there.
Then,
That's okay, he needed to go.
yeah. Having a deer bedded like that at 15 yards is
Not good.
not in your best interest.
Right.
With that possible disaster averted, at least for the moment, we got back to hunting, and it wasn't long before Kim spotted a couple more deer coming up the trail.
Do you see the one behind them? There's 5
These gals seemed a little bit nervous, staring out into the food plot just like the deer had done earlier. Fortunately, after just a few minutes, they all calmed down and just started feeding their way through. This was exactly what we'd hoped for. Deer just passing through. You don't want a whole bunch of critters piled up right in front of you. It makes moving and getting a shot, doing anything, that much more difficult.
You keep letting your stomach growl. That deer's going to think you're hungry.
Despite our hunger pangs, from time to time we could see deer moving out in the food plot. There were at least 4 or 5 deer out there now, but the group alongside us didn't seem to be in any hurry to join them. They just fed their way along, picking. And then finally, after what must have seemed to Kim like an eternity, they started working their way across in front of her. And when the last of them finally moved off, the gals decided it was time for a snack.
Stealthy.
Yeah, wrong snack.
What kind of people did you bring?
Well, once snack time was over, we got back to hunting, and it wasn't long before I spotted a deer working his way in from out in front of us.
He's going to pass in that opening, or he's going to turn and come in. I don't know.
That's my go round.
Yeah, he's circling.
Here he comes.
Another buck was circling his way in, this one a good deal more cautiously, but he was coming. Slowly he worked up in front of us, but as he stopped to scratch, I could tell, this too was just a 2-year-old. Another deer that with a year or two would be a great buck, but he wasn't quite there yet. Still, like I said earlier, you never know. This is Kim's hunt. She's going to shoot what she wants to shoot, and this is certainly a nice deer. Yeah, she decided to pass this one too. And then, just before dark, another buck came working his way in. This little bumpy spike worked in backwards from out in the field up under the oaks. This had been a great first day on an archery deer stand, but it did appear that Kim was going to have to wait at least one more day to get her chance. We'd seen a pair of pretty nice 8-points, but we had previously agreed we were going to wait for a more mature deer, at least something 3 years old. But I have to admit, I did think to myself as that second one walked off, maybe we were looking a gift deer right in the mouth, you know what I mean?
So, Kim, day 2.
Day 2.
Was today your day?
Today is the day.
It's the day.
It is.
All right.
What's gonna happen?
Let's check with your guide. D. Is today the day?
Okay.
Wait just a minute.
Well, despite not seeming all that confident about our chances, we settled in. And after an hour or so, we still hadn't seen a thing. Where the day before there had been numbers of deer, there were none. In fact, it was almost dark when Kim pointed out a couple of deer crossing well out in front of the stand. what appeared to be a 2-year-old and maybe a spike buck were working their way along, but they were at least 80 yards out in front of us. We could just make 'em out feeding under the oaks out across the hill. We could also make out the fact that they'd been joined by at least one other buck, a buck that at this distance appeared to be old enough. This might just be a shooter. What we needed was for him to obviously work his way over closer so we could get a better look, and maybe, just maybe, Kim could get a shot. Unfortunately, for reasons only known to older bucks, I guess, he turned and went the other way. The younger deer had crossed and were coming in along our left side, but that older buck kept going right straight out, right straight away from the blind. One more small doe did go trotting across in front of the blind just as it got dark. It was amazing how much difference one day made. By the end of that second afternoon, a couple of things were pretty clear. First of all, and favorably, we weren't getting busted. Our setup, our stand was working. We weren't being seen. Unfortunately, the second thing that dawned on me is the older deer weren't working their way out to the food plots like I'd hoped. The acorns were still falling, and all of the deer seemed to be headed in that direction. If we were going to get on an older buck, we needed to move. The following afternoon was warm and windy. The Oak Ridge was awash in color and movement. It was literally breathtaking to just sit there and look, except for there wasn't a whole lot to look at, save this squirrel. We sat for the first 3 hours, in fact, and didn't see anything other than that squirrel. It took till just before dark when a single doe crossed the ridge close to the stand. That's all we saw that evening. That was as picturesque a day deer hunting as I have ever spent. That is, unless, of course, you're hoping to see deer. The truth is, hunting's like that, especially archery hunting. Sometimes it just doesn't work. I did have faith we had made the right move. We just needed to get a little bit closer to the oaks. The deer weren't traveling much, and if we were going to get on one anytime soon, we were going to have to crowd right up into them.
What day are we on?
Boy, I don't know. Hey, guide. Guide.
What? What day are we on?
I think I've found our problem. I think I've identified the issue.
On 4, 5, 4.
Your hunter wants to know, who am I, where am I, do I look like myself? I think we figured out what's going on.
And fortunately, not long after we synchronized our watches and calendars,
Kim, look to your right.
we could see at least a couple of deer working their way in through the pines headed for the oaks. This little guy was followed by a button buck, and not far behind him, a young 6 or 8 point was working the trail in. We were obviously close enough. Unfortunately, just not the right deer, at least not yet. These guys worked right up in front of us, right in front of the blind, until one of them caught a whiff of something, turned and trotted out. That's the risk of being too close. It's really easy for a deer to get just a whiff of your scent.
They smelled you. They didn't smell me because I'm invisible.
it's tough to get the right deer close enough to get the right shot. We were obviously in the right spot, maybe even too close the way the wind was swirling. Still, it was simple. The deer were on the acorns, and that's where we needed to be. All we could do now was sit and hope that the weather they had forecast held off a couple of more hours. Maybe, just maybe, we'd get a chance. The wind was building. They were forecasting thunderstorms, maybe even snow. Whatever was coming, it definitely had the deer up and moving.
Deer back in behind him, walking too. Way back in there. There's definitely deer up moving around. Back to your left, almost straight out in front of you.
More and more deer were working their way up onto the oak flat, including what looked like a nice 10-point. Definitely at least a 3-year-old deer. This, friends, was a bona fide shooter. Now all Kim needed was for him to get a lot closer. Unfortunately, he didn't. He turned, joined this group of younger deer, and just walked off. Close, but as oftentimes happen, not quite close enough. That's the way an archery hunt is, though. That's what makes it challenging and exciting. A lot of times you can almost be there just to watch it turn and walk away. That's why I enjoy it so much, and that's why so many people are getting hooked on it as well. All we could do now was all anybody could do. We needed to wait it out. Hopefully we'd still get a chance. Half hour later, we had 2 little guys pushing and shoving in front of us when one of them looked up, and there he was. That 10-point was back. He had another small buck with him, and they were working back up in our direction. At less than 75 yards, Kim needed him to close that last critical 40 yards or so. And trust me, if you've never archery hunted, that is the toughest 50 yards. We sat there by my watch for better than 20 minutes, and every time this buck would spook a little bit, we'd catch our breath, and then finally, a lot of the younger deer started leaving. I thought for sure he was going to walk off again, but he didn't. He turned and kept coming in our direction. Now he was only 50 yards out. Friends, this will give you a heart attack if you've never done this. Watching and hoping and waiting, this is so hard on you. Ever so slowly, ever so painfully, he worked his way up through the trees until finally he was just about 35 yards out. Now he just needed to step out.
Shoot him there.
I whispered to Kim she could shoot him there. The other deer left. He was obviously getting nervous. Now it was on Kim.
You nailed him. You nailed him. You smoked him. Watch him. Watch him. Watch him. Boom! Into a tree.
Oh.
Nice job, girl.
Excited.
Good shooting. You can speak up now. He's not going nowhere.
know,
I've seen him run into a tree.
I've been whispering for 2 weeks. Good job, girls.
Hear that? Sounds like a little thunder.
A little bit, huh?
I think you got this in just in time.
It was, yeah, just in time. Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, great.
Look. Hey. There's no hugging in deer hunting, all right?
Oh, yes, there
Cut
is.
that out. You're going to start something. Hey, weather's coming. You want to go get your deer? We ain't have to trail it.
Yep, sounds good.
I think we can walk right over there. Reach down there and get you some of that, as they say. Pick his head right up there, girl. All right, it's getting dark.
Really dark, really, yeah.
really dark really fast, and it's going to rain on you.
Yep.
And you've still got a deer to field dress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, your guide does.
Huh?
What do you think, girl? Tell me.
I think it's wonderful.
What do you think about archery hunting? First time, right?
Yep.
And?
Loved it. It was great.
It is more exciting, isn't it? It is really traumatic. A little disappointing sometimes. You get real close, but
No, it was nice having them that close.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, girls, we got a big old deer to get out of here, and not very much daylight to do it. So,
Let's go.
you ready?
Ready.
All right, drag him out. Ooh, there's lightning right there. We have got no time.
Gotcha.
No time. Friends, that's about as good as a first-time archery hunt could possibly go. Congratulations again, Kim Dewey. You did such a good job, made such a great shot. And while I'm at it, congratulations to your first-rate guide, Miss T, as well. You gals definitely know how to get it done. Friends, nowadays, everyone can enjoy archery hunting. Doesn't matter whether you're into building your own or a conventional bow, or maybe you'd like to give that crossbow a try. Either way, the important part is go and try. Choose to be out in the Creator's world during the most beautiful, the best time of the year, the early fall. You'll enjoy it. And who knows, we might even run into you out there, because you know me, I'm a stick and string nut. And if I do see you out there, friends, well, you can bet we're going to stop and share that cup and a fire. And if I don't see you out there, then I'll wait for you right back here so we can share another adventure from my Wilderness Journal.